Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Demons to Diamonds for the Atari 2600, released by Atari in 1982. This is a paddle game for the system, and like most Atari games, I guess it has some sort of a basic story to try and explain what's going on. In this game, you are at a cosmic carnival, playing a target game. In this game, you shoot at demons that move back and forth on the screen, and when you hit a demon, it changes into a diamond or a skull. Shoot the diamonds for points, and don't shoot the skulls. Okay, they taunt you a little more than this in the manual, but it's a pretty basic game overall, and you have to use your imagination. It has a great label, though. You can play this as a 1 or 2 player game, and it's probably more fun as a 2 player game. This really looks like one of the earlier games for this system, but the game came out in 1982, so it's really not that early. You start, and if you're playing 1 player, you're at the bottom of the screen, or if you're a 2 player, it'll be bottom and top. And basically a bunch of stuff is going to run around in the middle of the screen. They're going to be demons in different colors and random objects. And, well, diamonds, of course. The demons here kind of look like the aliens from Space Invaders, I think. They're definitely portrayed larger on screen, but they kind of move and look the same, I think. I see the connection anyway. The game feels like it could have been Space Invaders from 2 sides, really. It feels that similar to me. Whether you're at the top or the bottom of the screen, you're moving left to right, basically along a rail. You press the fire button to fire your laser, and it kind of operates like a water gun does at a carnival. The longer you hold the button, the further the stream is, so you need to shoot and hit demons. To get them further away, you'll have to hold the fire button down longer to cover the distance. If you shoot a demon, that's the same color as your base. You'll get points, and you'll turn that demon into a diamond. You can shoot those diamonds as they run across the screen to get more points. If you shoot a demon that's the color of your opponent, it will turn into a skull, and then the skull will start shooting at you, or actually it shoots in both directions. If a demon touches a sidewall, because they are moving left to right, they will change colors and they will move up or down a row. When you clear a zone of demons, a wave of new demons will appear. Early on, these demons move kind of slow and the skulls stay stationary, but eventually as you progress through a couple of levels, the demons are going to get faster, and the skulls will start to move around, and this kind of makes the game more difficult. In higher levels and in 2-player games, the skulls will sometimes appear spontaneously and just start shooting and moving around the screen. There are some mild game variations in this game, but there's really nothing too dramatic. The first game here is the basic game, and the skulls will fire at normal speed. They'll shoot pretty frequently, and they will move up and down the screen at a certain speed relatively quickly. Game 2 is pretty much the same, but a 2-player version. Game 3 is another 2-player game, but if you shoot an opponent's base, that person is going to lose a life. Game 4 is just an easier version of Game 1, things are slower. I don't know why they would do this. They put the easier game later in the list. I would have expected they would have put an easier version for Game 1, but I don't know. It's not abnormal for Atari 2600 games to act like this. I haven't been able to figure that one out. Game 5 is like Game 4, but it's 2-player. Game 6 is the same as Game 4, but you can lose lives by shooting your opponent's base directly. Overall, I have to consider this one, it's a relatively plain game. It's okay if you're playing 2-player, but as a 1-player game, it's pretty boring. The screen gets cluttered pretty quick, and the laser beam that you fire, it flickers and it feels just too large to me. The sound effects here are really sharp and abrasive. There's a lot of noise. It doesn't sound like effects, it doesn't sound like music, it feels like noise. But it's the Atari 2600, so I guess it's kind of to be expected here. I think this is one of those games that would have benefited from possibly smaller targets or smaller objects on the screen. Here they're just gigantic, and that happens every now and again, I know, when you look at a game from the 2600 era. But there are games that do the same thing but smaller. I mean, if this was on the scale of Space Invaders, I think this would have actually been a very different game. It probably would have felt a lot tighter, it would have been nicer. Right now, you're moving along these rails and you just seem to go so fast. I know even my footage here, I might look even a little jittery. This is just how the modern consoles are dealing with the inputs that I'm using, the particular controller. So every now and again my icon shakes, but even still, this isn't it isn't a smooth experience just because everything is so large. The beam you're firing is gigantic, it's thick, it's long, it's just goofy, it's awkward. I wish it would have been a little smaller. I think that if these things were shrunk, and even if you put more items on screen, it might have probably helped this one a little bit. I know it's a relatively basic game and there's only so much you can do with the 2600 game, but in this one I felt like it was close enough to Space Invaders where, man, if you just put another opponent at the top of the screen and sort of divided the screen that way, I feel like it would have been a real fun game. Here it's just sort of noisy, everything's large, and it just feels clunky overall. I guess I wanted this game to be a little more than it was. As a single player, it's kind of dull. As a two-player, it's a little better. It's understandable to have this one in a party setting. It would work. Well, that's all I have for Demons to Diamonds for the Atari 2600. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you on another video.